and there's an accusation about Jay-Z and Diddy and a teenager, 13-year-old teenager. And we were speaking about just the statement.
Right.
The statement, you were saying you felt like that was calculated.
That was, the statement is something from, you can tell it was written by a lawyer.
2020, y'all. Yeah. And it's different than when it was 2016. You know, the game has been elevated. As we can tell, there's no expense being spared. We had a black billionaire's lunch. Yeah. You understand?
Right.
And we here together, and we're going to keep staying together. We getting tighter. You know what I'm saying?
There's only one person.
Oh, go on.
And I call him Sean. That's Jay-Z. We call each other Sean.
Okay.
Yeah. Nobody else could call me Sean.
He's the only person who's Sean approved.
There's not a single person that
outside of family.
That should be outside of my mother.
Okay,
That should be calling me.
Y'all, Jay-Z is crashing out over the Diddy documentary, and insiders are saying that he allegedly sent 50 a threat because of some new leaked info that ties Jay-Z to some of Diddy's worst deeds. Because the moment that documentary dropped on December 2nd, the story stopped being just about Diddy. It became a conversation about his connections and the enablers around him. Now, 50 was careful not to mention Jay, but if you watch the documentary, then you know he dropped some major clues that could only lead to one person. And it's gotten so bad that insiders are allegedly saying Jay is prepared to use every lawyer and every relationship he has to go after 50 if this documentary, or anything that comes after it, even hints that Jay knew more than he claimed. So what's the fuss and what's actually in the documentary?
How do you respond to people who say that it's more about the disdain that you have for Sean Combs than it is for giving the victims a platform?
What they consider a pre-existing beef, right, for 20 years, right, is me being uncomfortable with him suggesting that he takes me shopping, or I looked at it like it was like a tester, like maybe you'll come play with me, type of thing, right? And it's not personal.
Well, from the very first episode, Sean Combs' The Reckoning doesn't just tell Diddy's story. It quietly puts pressure on everyone who stood beside him, and without even mentioning his name, it sounds like Jay-Z is right at the top of that list. The series starts by walking through Diddy's rise, how he built Bad Boy Records, worked with the notorious B.I.G., and turned himself into a music and business giant. Because while the documentary doesn't spell it out, everyone knows Jay's journey ran side by side with Diddy's. We all know that while Diddy was building Bad Boy, Jay was building Rockefeller. And it shouldn't shock anyone that they weren't just watching each other from afar. They were in the same rooms, at the same tables, working the same power circles. This is just one of many reasons the documentary dropping now is the worst possible timing for Jay's image. Because back in December of 2024, we all remember how Jay dodged a major bullet when an accuser dropped a case that roped him into a nasty situation alongside Diddy. The lawsuit was suddenly withdrawn with prejudice, which meant it was over for good. But Jay later said he lost huge deals just from his name being in that paperwork. Then, in late November, he finally won a case against a man who spent years claiming Jay was his long-lost dad. That case dragged from 2010 until 2025, and a federal judge finally dismissed it without leave to amend, meaning it could never be brought back. So you can imagine how stressed Jay is with the idea of another battle coming in the form of 50's Diddy documentary, a project that could have more people crawling out of the woodwork with fresh lawsuits, more interviews, and more stories. Jay is a billionaire with way too much at stake, and we saw how that play out in real time when the casino in Times Square deal fell apart.
The only one with courage to stand up is the governor and the mayor appointees, and everybody else runs and hides. Go run and hide. Because what you did, the benefits you denied this community and this city and state, you have to live with that history forever.
Like I said, Jay is already a billionaire. At that level, people like him don't chase money, they chase power. Jay has been trying to lock in long-term power, and the Times Square casino bid was meant to be a big chess move in that plan. The kind of move he could pass down to Blue, Rumi, and even Beyoncé long after he's gone. That's why Roc Nation teamed up with Caesars and SL Green to pitch a multi-billion-dollar Caesars Palace right in Times Square. The pitch was wild. Jobs, community money, minority ownership, big promises about revitalizing the area. But the project died because Broadway people and local reps hated it. They didn't want a casino in the middle of the theater district, so a state advisory committee voted the plan down. But what's the full story? Sure, that's the story on paper, but you can't ignore the timing of all the controversial press Jay's gotten in the last few years. No regulator or partner wants to tie a gambling license, tourism money, and city politics to a guy who keeps getting pulled into the kind of headlines that have Diddy's name in them. And it gets worse, because even though Jay's casino dream has fallen off a cliff, he still has a long line of brands, partnerships, and businesses that could take a hit if this doc becomes a PR nightmare. Because Roc Nation is no longer just a label. It's a huge management and sports machine with Roc Nation Sports and Roc Nation Sports International, cutting deals with football clubs, rugby, boxing, racing, and more. It's a player in cannabis culture through his Monogram brand and earlier partnerships. It has fashion and culture plays with Versace collabs and the Roc Nation School, where Jay has been selling himself as a polished mentor for the next generation. And then there are the new sports projects with electric race series and global events, where his name brings in sponsors and viewers. These aren't just some random billion-dollar side hustles, they are reputation businesses. And reputation businesses are fragile, because the investors working with Jay aren't just buying into his catalog, they're buying the story around him. So when 50 drops a documentary that can damage that story, while setting up more content that slowly pulls Jay into the spotlight, it becomes a direct threat to every boardroom that has decided to trust Jay's image. But this is where it gets interesting, because most regular folks would say 50 is in a similar position. 50 might not have billion-dollar partnerships like Jay does, but he has built multi-million-dollar brands. From Sire Spirits with Branson Cognac to Le Chemin du Roi Champagne, 50 is still touring off his old catalog, and his biggest flex is TV with shows like Power and BMF, and that whole universe he helped build. But here's the difference. 50's brand is being the problem. His audience expects him to be petty, to troll, to throw grenades. When he clowns Diddy, Ja Rule, Irv Gotti, whoever, none of his fans are shocked, because brands that work with him already know what they're signing up for. Jay's whole thing is the opposite. He's supposed to be the grown-up of hip-hop, the calm one, the chess player, the guy you can put on a board alongside CEOs and not worry about him spazzing online the next day like Kanye West. So if this doc snowballs and people start seriously questioning how deep his connection to Diddy's world went, Jay's downside is much bigger, because it will hit his casino dreams, sports deals, fashion collabs, legacy plays, school programs, all the respectable stuff he's been carefully stacking. Meanwhile, worst-case scenario for 50 is he catches a lawsuit and turns it into 3 interviews and a new meme. But here's the part people aren't really saying out loud yet. 50 hasn't even gone full Ja Rule mode on Jay.
Look, when Jay signed his contract, the big one was with Beyonce. Mm-hmm. When he signed that contract, the marriage contract, he got trophies. Now those fucking trophies, trophies came rolling in, buddy. He started getting Grammys left and right, man. I mean, look, if you look at his career,
Wow. This guy. Oh, wow. You're gonna let him say that?
Jay was getting Grammys.
He had one.
Exactly.
He had
and
one.
he ain't show up.
No, he had like 20 now.
Oh, Lord.
He had like 18 since he been down. Look, he had one, bro. Hard Knock Life.
With Ja Rule, 50 nuked the man's entire career. Diss tracks, interviews, documentaries, old stories, street rumors. He turned it into a long-term project. With Diddy, he took it a step further and literally helped push a full Netflix doc that could destroy what's left of Diddy's already damaged legacy. But what has 50 really done to Jay so far? He's mostly just made him a punchline here and there. Sure, there have been a few interview shots, some petty comments about business Jay, but there's nothing that looks like a dedicated mission. At least, not yet. So what happens if 50 decides Jay is the next main target and not just someone he name drops for spice? Does Jay come out swinging with an army of lawyers, filing defamation suits and demanding corrections from every direction? That would fit the "I'll bankrupt you" narrative some insiders are pushing online. Or does he try the Diddy approach first, acting like 50 is just a PR bug that can be ignored until it goes away? Because we've already seen how that worked out for Diddy. He laughed off the jokes, stayed quiet for years, and by the time he tried to fight back, it wasn't a meme anymore. It was raids, court dates, and a Netflix series calling his whole life a lie. But I want to hear from y'all. Do you think Jay-Z is just guilty by association and unlucky to be standing next to Diddy when everything fell apart? Or do you think 50 is slowly backing him into a corner while Jay gears up to crush 50 with lawsuits the second he crosses a line? Let me know what you think in the comments. And don't miss this next video.